Welcome to today's webinar, the seventh in our series, Transparency is the New Green, with our special guest, Scott Miller from Knauf Insulation. We are super excited to be here with Scott today to talk to you about the new Project Builder, Configurator, and Library functionality that Sustainable Minds and Knauf worked on together for well over a year, from inception through working with a pretty significant number of architects, builders, contractors in the development of this functionality to make sure that we were building the most useful and usable functionality for both AECs and manufacturers. And that's what we're here to talk with you about today. We'll cover first the Sustainable Minds backstory. There are some new folks who are on the call today who are new to Sustainable Minds, and we really appreciate your interest, as well as folks who know us and are coming to see what's new, so we appreciate that too. Part of our story is talking about the product transparency challenges that exist in the marketplace that we are working to address. And then Scott will talk about the work that Knauf has done to make higher performing, greener and healthier products, what he has done at Knauf to help build that incredibly greener brand, and then commentary on not only what we've done together, but we're really thrilled for Scott to be able to talk about, after 1 month in of launching this capability, the response from the training of sales reps and territory reps and their experience of starting to absorb this content and integrate this new set of tools into their sales processes. We will watch for questions. There will be time at the end, most likely, and any questions that don't get answered now we'll certainly get back to you with. And when that's all over, we will encourage you to go to the Transparency catalog, to Knauf's showroom, and start a project and try it out for yourself and let us know what you think. So for those of you who are new to Sustainable Minds, we're a software company, specifically cloud software, and have been building environmental performance tools for 10 years and have focused for the last 4 years on the product transparency space. We are a mission-based company, which means that everything we do in terms of products and services is to drive forward our mission, which is to operationalize environmental performance into mainstream product development and manufacturing for the purpose of driving innovation, revenue, and growth. The way that we're able to create the innovative products and services that we have is because of the deep expertise resident in the company in life cycle assessment, material ingredient evaluation, cloud software design and development, and most importantly, customer experience design. We're really thinking about putting the user first, deeply understanding their needs and their wants, and ultimately building something that really meets and exceeds the expectations of those key users to deliver a fantastic customer experience for those folks that we're building it for, which is in contrast to building something generic and hoping it will work for everyone. And that really is never the most effective way to design anything. So we're going to talk about that too. For a little bit of context, I mentioned Sustainable Minds has been working in the product transparency space since 2013, not too long after the USGBC announced LEED version 4, and that product transparency would really be the cornerstone, the story behind LEED version 4. And in looking at what's in an EPD, an Environmental Product Declaration, or an ISO 14025 Type 3 Environmental Declaration, it occurred to us that if environmental performance was going to become part of mainstream product selection and simply another criteria that sits alongside functional performance, cost, aesthetics, safety, and all of the criteria people consider today, then you wouldn't want to have the environmental performance information in a separate document someplace else, separate and apart from the information that people need to make decisions. So it was our logical conclusion that manufacturers who really did have credible environmental information to share is a marketing story and should be integrated into all other product marketing materials in a credible way. So in 2013 through 2014 and 2015, we really broke down the challenges that we saw facing the industry, first by starting out working on how to make product transparency understandable and meaningful, followed by looking at the standards development process for product category rules and EPDs. And further combined in both of those activities was not only creating standardized ways of delivering information and creating those rules, but creating standardized presentations of the information. Again, from a user's experience, the presentation is ultimately what makes the content most understandable and meaningful and ultimately accessible. And in 2016, when we launched the Transparency Catalog, we were working on issues now of findability, making it possible to find all of the brands who have committed to product transparency to start getting those folks their due, and they deserve to be rewarded for investing in transparency. So make their brand and products easy to find. And this year, our addition to all of that was now to make product transparency actionable and to make sure that not only can people in the selection process be able to find all the products that they need, but now to really be able to select them, configure them for projects, and get them into the spec so that there's a much better chance that those products actually will be purchased and therefore reward the manufacturer. So that's kind of how we look at our own product development. We have a pretty significant investment in R&D, which is what helps us make better products. And so to summarize, what we've been doing for 10 years and looking at the market, manufacturers really are addressing two challenges at the same time, which is the need and desire to design greener products. And so product transparency disclosures are the things that inform greener and healthier products. That's their first and primary use, is to understand what are we doing today and where are the impacts or the risks showing up and what do we do to improve. And then they want to market those greener products, and being able to do that credibly with no greenwashing is very valuable when those background reports, those disclosures show the scientific evidence that the manufacturer really does understand what they're doing. They are making improvements. And that's a compelling story to tell. And since LEED version 4 was introduced, there are other green building rating systems that have embraced product transparency, and even new green building rating systems have formed, like the WELL building standard, specifically to drive better performance in material ingredients. So the question that we ask manufacturers who have invested in product transparency is, there's now more green building rating systems that are rewarding professionals. So more folks are looking for products. But the key word there is they're looking for products with disclosures. They're not just looking for products. So we ask the manufacturer, have you made it easy to find your products? And then what will they learn about what you're doing to improve when they find those products and those disclosures? So we believe that product transparency does build credibly greener brands, but not simply by producing disclosures. That the value for manufacturers to provide that information comes from when they can demonstrate they actually understand what it means themselves and they know what they're doing. They're doing something with it. And on the other side, for building professionals, their ability to make better informed decisions requires that that information be presented in a consistent, understandable, and meaningful way. And when all of that happens, truth builds trust builds powerful brands, and powerful brands create preference and value for their companies. So that's our equation for how product transparency will drive innovation and growth for those manufacturers who are making credibly greener and healthier products. But there's a lot of challenges that people are addressing and continue to address. Building professionals cannot easily find those products from manufacturers who are investing in disclosures, and even when they do, they cannot easily use them to make better informed decisions. And manufacturers, and particularly those who were early adopters and got started, we're out of the early adoption phase in terms of product transparency, and we are into early mainstream. And so those manufacturers who were early are not going to maintain that early mover advantage by simply creating more disclosures. And many of those manufacturers, if not most, are still hesitant to be able to say that they are able to connect the dots between those product transparency disclosures and a lot of new business. But it's not going to go away. So those manufacturers, and new ones too, who are operationalizing this into the way they do business, need to be able to save time in creating these disclosures. They need to be able to more efficiently and effectively train sales folks, architectural design reps, distributors, anybody who's customer facing, and have an efficient way to distribute those disclosure as well. And certainly in supporting the AEC community and finding what they need. I mean, that's the big challenge. That hopefully should lead to building a credibly greener and healthier brand. And we always come back to this statistic, which is that in early stage product selection, most people will go to a manufacturer's website first to do that kind of product research. So what's the user experience when they go to a manufacturer's website looking for the manufacturer's products with transparency information? Now, I put it in that form of a question because by definition, if a manufacturer has invested in product transparency, it means that they care about that kind of user or that prospect or that customer who are looking for products with transparency information. So why is it so difficult when someone like that comes to a manufacturer's website to find those products? And that's because most websites, not just product manufacturers, are designed in silos that reflect the way they think about their business and the way they're organized versus the way a user is likely to experience that business. And so a user might look in multiple places in a manufacturer's website for those products with transparency information. They might look in a product section, the sustainability section. There might just be a disclosure download page or sets of pages. But it's not too often that people will find a site where those things are connected in a meaningful way or making it easy to go back and forth. And further, it's even more it's fewer and further between when you find an example of that being well integrated. So we refer to that as there being no intentional user experience, meaning it's not designed for those types of users. So having said all of that and really understanding deeply all of those challenges, the Transparency Catalog and our transparency products have been designed to address all of those challenges in one solution set. So the catalog is an educational marketing and customer service solution. It is not a product database. And sure, there's a database behind it, and yes, it has products in it. But the user experience of the Transparency Catalog is very different than a product database, which typically will offer you a search field when you arrive. You kind of need to know what you're searching for. You might put in some search terms. So for a building professional, that's a good way to go. If you want to see all of the products from all of the manufacturers in a particular category and be able to do that in an overarching way. It's not the greatest thing for a manufacturer who wants to stand out from the crowd. Then you show up with every other competitor right alongside you. So we really do not like when people refer to us as a product database, although that functionality will get added next year. It wouldn't have provided a great user experience this year yet. But in the spirit of filtering, the Transparency Catalog has one massive filter, which is it's only brands who have products with transparency information, and then it's only those products. So that's all that's in the catalog. There's nothing else that doesn't comply. So that's one massive filter that's there that nobody ever has to worry about. And the second is that everybody needs to learn as they go, manufacturers and AECs. So all of that is built in, that the education and the marketing tools are just part of that integrated experience. And of course, we focused on the best user experience, which is always about simplification and standardization so that people don't have to struggle with finding stuff and understanding what it means and being able to compare. It's always free to use. And, at the end of the day, we are deeply committed to data and user privacy, which means that the manufacturer's data is the manufacturer's data. The user information doesn't belong to them, and it doesn't belong to any other user. We're just not in the business of making money off of analytics. We don't think that's really the best business model for our intent, which is to float all the boats and help building professionals find the best products to build the best and highest performing buildings to reduce the impact on the built and natural environment. And of course, it's not enough to just say that this stuff is good. We have to be able to deliver a measurable ROI, not only on what we're selling, but to help a manufacturer deliver that measurable ROI on their product transparency investments. Because our biggest concern is if the market does not reward manufacturers for that investment, they're going to stop, which means there won't be such a high priority on making better products if they're not being rewarded for being transparent and doing so. So again, the focus is on brands. It's all about brands, getting the brands front and center, The front page is designed so that there is an awareness of how many manufacturers actually have gotten started. There's a perception, I think, in the AEC community that there aren't a lot of products with transparency information, but that's actually not the case. We'll be publishing a trend report later this year that everyone will be able to access. When we launched the catalog last year, at the beginning of November, we had 350 brands in the catalog, which represented all of the manufacturers who had created EPDs with any program operator or material ingredient disclosures with any of the material ingredient programs. And as of last week, we now have over 900 brands in the catalog, which represents a multiple of 3 times the number of manufacturers who have invested in product transparency relative to 1 year ago. So in summary, our story is about building products and services that both meet the needs and desires for manufacturers and the needs and desires of building professionals. And so for manufacturers, it's all about helping them make, market, and sell their better, higher performing products. And for the building professionals, it's all about finding, understanding, engaging with those manufacturers and rewarding them. And if we're successful at all of these things, then we're going to get what everybody hopes will happen, which is change in the marketplace to actually build a better built environment. So now we're going to get into talking about what you all came here today is to look at the new functionality, the Project Builder, Configurator, and Library. This is new functionality that can be added to the brand showroom of any featured brand. We have 3 kinds of transparency products. Our transparency report, which is our brand of EPD. It is a Type 3 environmental declaration. It combines functional performance, environmental performance, everything someone needs to make a decision about a product, all in one place in 3 pages. Material health overview does the same thing for material ingredient reporting, makes it understandable, meaningful in 1 page. And the performance fact sheet is a combination of both those things. I'll show you a quick overview. The brand showroom is the place that people can find all those products from the manufacturer. And now with the Project Builder, what we've done is we've added an actionable lead generation solution that delivers a lot of value to building professionals who use it, and even more value to the manufacturers who offer it. And so all of the things that had created kind of a negative connotation about lead generation systems in the business model of selling leads to manufacturers for projects that AECs might have started, absolutely that is not happening. Selling leads of people who have signed up to be on the mailing list to manufacture, that is absolutely not happening. None of that. This is all about delivering real value with content and functionality for both sets of constituents. What we're going to show you, Scott's going to talk about the work we did, and then we'll demo it for you. Knauf created a pretty broad range of transparency reports for a number of their product groups. It's 3 pages, like I mentioned. Everything you need to know to make a decision is here. The LCA results and interpretation are here. And most interesting is the page 3, which is optional, which talks about what the manufacturer is doing in each stage of the product's life cycle to contribute to that performance improvement, and makes the data that's disclosed here even more understandable. The material health overview is the same layout. Knauf did those as well. both for declare labels and HPDs as they needed them. So in a glance, a user can get the answers to what they were hoping to learn. What's in the product? Is there anything bad? What do I need to know? What are they doing to improve? We've designed versions for all of the different programs because they have a little bit different information in them, and the process is a little bit different. So these formats deliver the technical information on the left side and the interpretation of what is the manufacturer actually doing to achieve that type of rating or disclosure data. And now, because of our commitment to be able to find everything all in one place, the manufacturer, and Knauf did this, added the material health overview into the transparency report so a user can toggle between both sets of results. And finally, the third type of transparency product, which we brought to market last year with GAF, is for manufacturers who have already created a lot of disclosures, EPDs, material ingredient disclosures. And so all in one place in an organized way, they can combine the functional information, what they're doing to make it greener, and access to all of the disclosures as well as the values in the rating systems. So with all of that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Scott to talk about how Knauf Insulation and Sustainable Minds had leveraged everything we already did into this extended offering and what it means for Knauf.
Okay, well, thank you, Terry, and I appreciate that very much, and welcome everybody, and thanks for participating today. I know the vast majority of people on this call are with design firms, and that's great because we did this for you. Do I have control, Terry?
Let's see, Scott. Oh, you do too.
Okay. So here we go. I am Scott Miller. I'm Director of Sustainability and Product Affairs at Knauf Insulation. And Knauf Insulation is a large family-owned business that started in the United States in 1978. I direct our sustainability initiatives and provide strategic input to the manufacturing and product development, sales, and marketing initiatives. And I'm well versed and keenly aware of the impacts that our products bring to market. And I'm also director of this thing called Knauf Academy, which is the educational arm of Knauf that does internal and external training. And our mission is to educate internal and external audiences on the aspects of our products. And that's exactly what this tool is, which I think you'll see. For some reason, I'm not advancing. There we go. So as a manufacturer, I ask ourselves, how do we tell our story? And Terry and I met, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and I saw what Sustainable Minds was doing, and I told her some of the things I wanted to do, and it was like this meeting of Sustainable Minds, literally. And how do we get credit for our market transformation was very important for me because we've done some really cool things, and I want to take credit for that. How do we get our EPDs and declare labels and HPDs and all these certifications out in front of people and make them really easy to get to? And how to tell people what we're doing from a sustainable development standpoint. And most importantly, I guess, and I think this is true for every manufacturer who has a sustainable development program, is how do we get return on our investment and realization of actual return, and how do we not just be considered this Me Too product in our space, and our information is just scattered all over the place, and I find it very frustrating even to get to some of our information myself. When we get a question from the field, it's just difficult for me sometimes to get everything quickly, as quickly as I'd like to. Advance a slide, Terry. I'm just not advancing for some reason. So if you look at some of the leadership things we've done as a company, and that I want our company to be recognized for, and it's, you know, we're the first Green Guard certified product in the United States in 2002. It's hard to believe, you know, it's been 15 years since we first did that, but it gave us so much understanding of indoor air quality. And it actually led to a bio-based formaldehyde-free binder adhesive that absolutely transformed our industry, right? So I don't think you can purchase any mineral fiber-based product today, at least glass-based, without, you know, having a bio-based adhesive system. We launched that in 2008. It was one of the largest industrial green chemistry initiatives ever launched, outside of maybe ethanol. We were the first to push post-consumer recycled content past 60% back in 2009. We were the first to completely disclose all of our ingredients back in 2012. And to this day, we're still the only formaldehyde-free mineral fiber pipe and board products of glass-based. And we also did the world's first EPD on pipe insulation, trying to bring awareness to the mechanical room being important from a product selection standpoint, because it doesn't make any sense to have a, say, a low VOC strategy for a building and load the mechanical room up with VOCs. And we find this handoff that happens in mechanical rooms that is sometimes disconnected from the actual green building process. Next slide, please. Because we've had so many of these firsts, many of our customers, you know, they want us to lead. They expect us to lead. And, you know, to this day, we're the clear leader in essentially all sustainability categories. But how do we disclose that? How do we get that out there? But our recycled content is the highest. Our ingredient disclosure is, we have more red list free products than any other insulation manufacturer. We have more environmental product declarations than any other manufacturer. And we're the only company that still offers this complete range of formaldehyde-free products. Today, we're going to talk about our next most transformative thing, and that's the program with Sustainable Minds. And we think of you as design professionals, and we thought of you and held hands with many different leaders and major design firms in the United States to design this tool. And we thought about all the products that you have to sort through for a green building project. It's uncanny, and it's very difficult for me to get my arms around how you go about gathering documentation on all these different products to meet the V4 criteria or well building criteria when you have so many to go through. So we wanted to make it easy for you. And, you know, you would visit a company's web pages only to find information in these silos that Terry thought about. And I love that slide. I think it's great because it's absolutely true. So it's very difficult to get actual certificates or validations, and you end up having to go somewhere else for that. Or, you know, maybe a design firm hires a summer intern to catalog materials, and that information is absolutely ancient by the time it gets utilized and not up to date, because certifications continually are updated. So you look for differentiation for your basis of design, and you really have difficulty finding it. And we find that frustrating. So, you know, we, you know, worked with design firms, and one was Dan Overby. And Dan is a great guy with regard to sustainable development, and he recognizes the work that we have done at Knauf. And this is a quote of educating people about product transparency and sustainability and how to specify insulation, at the same time learn about how we as manufacturers are making their products. It equips the design professional to make better informed decisions. That's exactly what we want to happen. And moving product selection upstream in the design process ensures that we get the products that help us meet our sustainable design goals for our specifications. So that's precisely what we're doing with this tool. Thank you, Terry. And we've found this also to be a great learning and technical or teaching tool. So we've started training our sales force and field specialists it's proved very useful so far to explain how our efforts are impacting the environmental aspects of our products. And to be honest, sustainability is a somewhat complex topic for a salesperson to get his arms around, as he's spending so much time in the field and behind a windshield of a car or whatever. So this tool allows him to be very colloquial on sustainability topics, and allows him to really up his game. And I had some great quotes from our sales and specification team. And it's a great tutorial for customers, and everything's right up front and all in one place. And it's great branding is out front with seamless ties to product info. And it works better than most websites. And that was unprompted. That came to us as a result of what we did. The sales force didn't know we were doing this. They knew we were doing something. They didn't know exactly what. So, our trainer, after, educating some of the sales force, all the sales folks found the rating system and the payback calculations we've done in the tool, and our commitment to sustainability is very useful and instructive. They learn why maybe eutrophication is important in a product, or why using a lot of recycled content is useful in a product. And getting this all in one place is just and allowing them to learn more by clicking boxes on this website. It's just a great feature for architects, contractors, government projects, utility incentive programs, to allow that better understanding and how we're doing better as a company, and help our salespeople understand that. Okay, next. So some more quotes from our sales folks. It hits the high points for sales. It's like an elevator speech on steroids. I absolutely love that. And, Terry mentioned marketing, and I, having been on the development end of providing all the information that goes on this tool, it's no small task. It's very difficult. It took me over a year to do this. And there's validation behind every step. So yeah, we say there's marketing in here, but it's validated marketing. It's had oversight. So every claim that we make in this tool can be verified. And I think that's important for you to know. I think it's important that you understand that our marketing and around sustainability is true. And it's great for our installation contractors to select products and get quotes on the fly. Reduces phone calls, and it's a time saver because it's all right there at fingertips. And it enables our reps to reach more people with less time and travel associated with getting an order, for instance, on a large commercial job. Once the rep has made this contact with the buyer, all the future orders can be accomplished without the need for phone, email, or travel. They absolutely love that. And we think you're going to like that too. Next slide. So in this Sustainable Minds website and our Knauf Insulation Showroom, you're going to find transparency reports, which are EPDs. I think we have 13 different EPDs on products. You need no more than 4 from any one manufacturer, and we're giving you 13 options to get that LEED v4 credit. The material health overviews talk about how we use the Living Building Challenge Declare labeling system, and the red list free is our benchmark for development. And that where we're not able to do red list free, we've done a healthy product declaration. Not that they're easier to do, but they are easier from a chemistry standpoint. We did this project builder and configurator library that allows you to actually, go in, look at our products, select them for a project, and collaborate with other persons within your design firm, and talk about the attributes you like about what we're doing. And it's all in one place, and the story behind it all. and with links to every label, every validation, every certification. We believe that once you use it, you'll want all manufacturers to do what we just did. And we hope you like it. Next slide.
Well,
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Scott. The good news, both Scott and I have alluded to the fact that we've been working on this for quite some time. But the good news is that, it's for the purpose of developing a standardized offering. As Scott just said, we think all building professionals will want manufacturers to do what Knauf did. Well, the fact is that now this functionality is available to every other manufacturer in the transparency catalog. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the demo. So here we are at the front page of the transparency catalog, and I'm going to scroll down for a minute. And you can see that Knauf is the top featured brand, and I'm just going to click right in here. The showroom has all of the products organized by product type and CSI master format division. It also gives you a quick summary of who is Knauf, what you can do here. And for those who like to get a sense of what the capabilities are before digging in, or even talking about it later, I'm going to bring your attention to this quick start guide. This quick start guide, you can see the theme is learn while you do. Gives a very high level overview of all of the functionality in this showroom and what you're able to do with it. So that's there for reference when you start, or you want to go back and look later. But let's dig in. Alongside, we have a little key about what are transparency reports and material health overviews. And here, we'll look at these later. These are some of the educational and teaching tools that were alluded to in the slides that we spoke about earlier. Value for all the products in each of the green building rating systems. We have an interesting calculator that's important to convey some information about key concerns in the insulation manufacturing industry and how Knauf is making their products greener and healthier. But let's get started on a scenario. So let's imagine an architect, I'm an architect, coming to the showroom to do product selection on, let's say, a hospital that my firm is working on. And I know something about insulation, but and I also know something about product transparency, but maybe not a whole lot about either. So I have the opportunity to filter by application. So what are the products that are there for ceilings? What are the products there for mechanical systems? And when I finally get to the information that I'm interested in learning more about, I can click right in. And this takes me to the transparency report. So here's the transparency report. We've got an application picture. Here's the product pictures, quick description. In the performance dashboard, you've got all the features and benefits. The whole key is also to drive people back to the manufacturer's website for more information. Manufacturers have websites because they want to do business with you there. So we do that. And here on the right side is the environmental and materials, high-level data. What are they simply doing to improve, and what are all of the certifications and ratings they've achieved? And I want to bring your attention to right here, which is we call it the spec zone. It calls out the master format division the product is in, and right here, the user can download the 3-part specification guide. or call for help or email them. So this is all about delivering the information and making it easy to specify. If I scroll down, you can see that this transparency report has been verified by NSF. It is a Type 3 environmental declaration. And now, oh boy, I want to know more. So I'm going to click into the LCA results and interpretation. And on the left side, I can see all of the technical data that's required to be in a Type 3 environmental declaration. And on the right side is simple interpretation of what's causing the greatest impacts. Here, Knauf can start talking about what they're actually doing to improve. And here is an at-a-glance way of understanding the LCA process. So the scope, the information modules included in the scope. And ultimately, down here are the numbers, the characterized results required to be in a Type 3 environmental declaration. Most people don't really understand what those mean. We do a little bit to help you understand what the units are that these impact categories are measured in. But what we've done is we've added up each of these impact categories in each life cycle stage, and using the single score methodology that we use in our software, help the user understand in which life cycle stage what's contributing greater than 20% of the impacts. And now the user can actually see, comparing one life cycle stage to another, where the greatest impacts actually are in the making of this product and what's contributing to that. And if I really want to learn more about what are they really doing to improve, here's page 3. And this is where the manufacturer can talk about what they've done or what they're doing in every life cycle stage, contributing to that performance improvement. Now, if I go back to page 2 and I want to learn about the material health, I can also learn about just that. So here, Scott has red list free declare labels for this product and all of his others, with the exception, I think, of one, and that's because of a ingredient in a facer material from a provider. And on the right side, it explains what's in the product and why. How did he get this level? What does it mean? What's Knauf doing in consideration to achieve this level? And also then sends it back to page 3. In instances where it wasn't possible to get a red list free declare label, Scott backed it up doing an HPD, and here's the snapshot of the HPD results, how we report it. So you can see very quickly the breakdown of list translator scores in ingredient percentages, and you can always link to the declare labels, click to get the HPD. We always provide links to the technical standards, so you can really go read about those and learn those too. And you can see all the values that get earned by these disclosures and these reports and the rating systems, and again, be able to link to the technical standard itself to learn more. So let's say I've done this now for a couple of products and I'm ready to get started to create a project. I'm going to click Start a Project. Now, earlier I said that we don't collect user data for any purpose other than letting users use the tools. So technically, to enable somebody to save information on the internet, technically an account is required. So to create a project library or an account in the transparency catalog, we require a couple of pieces of information: a first name, an email address, and a password. That's all you need to set up your project library in the transparency catalog, and it is only to save information for your use. We do zero with that information. Nobody sees it. We don't use it for anything other than setting up your library. So I'm going to log into my account. And now, because I clicked on that product from the transparency report, and I'm in my account, it's going to ask me, do I want to add that product to an existing project, or do I want to start a new one? So I'm going to add it to an existing project. I'm going to add it to the Valspar Medical Center. And I've already indicated that it's a healthcare project. I can actually put in as much information as I like about the project. I can put in a full design brief, or I can put in, as little as I like, but I'm going to be sharing this information with my client or clients or my other team members. So whatever you want to have in there that's going to help tell that story later, that's available for you to put in. So because I came in through that transparency report, and that transparency report had 2 products in it, they're already added to my project. So the configuration parameters, sorry, because I added it to an existing project, it already had that product in it. Here's my new product that I added. And now it lets me select the parameters to configure this product to the degree that I'm able to. Select my facer value and add the amount that I'm going to need. Now, if I'm in early product selection, I might not know how much I'm going to need, but that's okay. You can always go back and add that. And we have this handy note field where a user can put any kind of note, like I'm not sure about the square footage, or I'm looking at this for this area of the building, but I need another version of it too. So you can always add as many versions of that product as you like, if you're going to have different places in the building, for example. And then you can keep adding more products. So you can go back to a simple product selector. I can select any of those products. Again, the same thing. It will give me the selection parameters, so I can configure that product. So now let's say I'm done for now, and I want to save my project. And I'm going to go to my project library. So here I am in my project library, and the first thing you might see on the right here is links to all of the specification guides for all of Knauf's products. Again, if you didn't access it through the front page of the transparency report, it's always there. And by the way, the guy in charge of ultimately completing the spec doesn't care about any of the transparency report information. All they want is the spec guide. So there it is. But now here's my Valspar Medical Center project. I'm going to go look at it. You can see that it has my products in it. If I wanted to continue to add more products and edit the project, I can at any time. But let's say now I'm getting ready to go to my client to start showing them the products that I've selected for the project. I could certainly show them this online, but it's probably easier to download the project. And when the project gets downloaded, you get a nice little folder that has all of the transparency reports and material health overviews for the products that are in your project. Plus, it has the overview, that project page, that shows your project, the description, all the products. And now you can email this around. You could email the folder around. You can print the PDFs, however you want to share that information. Whoops. So I'm going to go back to my project library. And you can see that I've saved a bunch of other projects. Now, the beauty of the ability to save a project, and by the way, it comes, every account project library comes with this example project that shows you what it might look like when you have more products in or more description. And you can kind of use that as a tutorial. But let's take a quick look at the tools here on the right. Here's this green building rating system tool that now the manufacturer just puts in their products by product group and can show which credits each product can earn in each of the green building rating systems that also rewards product transparency. This other tutorial, and this is optional content. A manufacturer doesn't need to create this kind of learning tool, or they can. This tool makes the case to explain how the embodied energy used to create the insulation to insulate a 30,000 square foot building in a particular climate zone. It shows how all of the embodied energy it took to manufacture that amount of insulation, of Knauf insulation, gets paid back in a very short period of time from the energy that is saved from insulating that building with that insulation. Not only does it get paid back in a very short period of time, it just talks about the value of the amount of energy saved over the lifetime of a building. So we use 60 years, which is the lead lifetime value. And ultimately, the energy saved in megajoules, and here we give a oil equivalency. All of the background data and the calculation models are available here, and the assumptions, and you can always contact Scott if you'd like to learn more. But this is a really good kind of interesting training tool and to learn more about energy and insulation. And because we have all that content on page 3 of the transparency report, which by the way, Scott mentioned this, because all of these claims are in the transparency report about what the manufacturer is doing to improve, all of these statements have been verified by NSF and are part of the verification statement covering the whole transparency report. So these really are credible assertions, third-party verified, of things Knauf is actually doing. And really, it's like kind of getting 2 for 1, because he's making the transparency report, or any manufacturer is making the transparency report anyway. Now you've got all this content. Why not use it everywhere that a user might want to encounter it? So it's in the library. It's here on the front page. And as Scott shared with you some of the feedback from the territory reps and their training, access to these kinds of tools in multiple places is very handy for them when they're in sales mode or just learning themselves. So that's pretty much the demo. We invite you to go to the Knauf showroom, click around in the products, read about them, set up a project, save it. One of the beauties of saving the project is that now we've heard this is a really good use case. If you're a firm who designs a lot of the same kinds of projects, it's kind of a pain every time you go do one to go back and look up what you used in the last project. And so now you'll be able to save projects in the library that can be genericized, like this is what we use for these kinds of projects. And you can always go back and use that information. It's always there. So to wrap up, at Greenbuild, when we launched this, we also participated in an AIA forum to look at what are the most urgent product transparency challenges. And these were the 4 that came out of that meeting: the need for education, the need to standardize technical guidelines results in delivery, the ease of finding products with credible info, and the ability for manufacturers to demonstrate an ROI. So we're super pleased to be able to pair up all the things that we have been delivering and continue to deliver to address those top challenges in the industry. And again, I want to point out that all of the work that Sustainable Minds and Knauf did to develop the builder, configurator, and library is now available for any manufacturer. So the time required to implement is a microcosm compared to what it took to create it and build it for the first time. So do not be concerned about all of the time that we kept talking about. And we have an easier way for manufacturers to get started, and you can always upgrade to a featured brand, which is our standard listing. In a glance, it makes it possible for all building professionals to see every product a manufacturer has with transparency information, with links to the disclosures, links to the product information on the manufacturer's website, information about how to use those credits in the rating systems. We believe in low-cost, high-value pricing. Again, because we're a mission-based company, we're really just trying to move the market. And we offer a lot of services and marketing in addition to the physical listing itself, so that a manufacturer can easily put together an ROI based on how they internally measure value, whether it's cost reductions or value creation.
Terry, this is Scott. I just wanted to say that, I didn't want anybody to walk away that's a design firm thinking that this costs them anything, because it's all free.
That is true. Good reminder. It is always free to use, always. So with that, this is Scott and me at Greenbuild happily demoing, and we are happily thanking you today for spending time with us, and hope you'll give it a shot and give us some feedback. And we wish you a great day.